Bob Johnson with PK&W Model Works coming at you with another video. Sorry about the harsh lighting here, but second time I've recorded this, I somehow lost files I'd already put into the video. First, I hope you're doing great today. Thank you for spending your precious time with me watching this video. I do appreciate it. I know your time is valuable. Today we're going to be talking about building some signal or relay shed models and how to replicate the natural metal finish of new ones using foil, aluminum foil and bare metal foil. And at the end of the video there will be a couple of shots where you can see them all side by side and you can decide for yourself what produces the best result. This project was inspired by these new relay sheds, or as they're known by the BNSF, signal bungalows. I think that's charming, signal bungalows, that were installed in Saginaw, Texas at the crossing there where I used to rail fan, and I thought they looked really cool, brand new. I'd never seen them like that, and I thought it would be interesting to model them. So the project was done here at my house in Texas. Before I moved, I'd already packed up all my modeling supplies, so I didn't have a spray booth, so I decided to try using aluminum foil, and I bought this aluminum foil for the purpose from the dollar store that I thought would be super thin. Now, the way that this is usually applied by airplane modelers is using rubber cement like this and thinning it with a product called hexane, which is, as you can see from the warning labels on here, pretty dangerous stuff, but nonetheless it's available on Amazon. But actually, to complete this project, I didn't use this. Instead, I used this foil adhesive I got at a craft store, this metal leaf adhesive. And, it worked, but I think it was part of my problem with some of this. It didn't apply evenly. It was thick. I'll talk about it later on in the video. But the other product that I tried was this bare metal foil, which is used by car modelers, available at a lot of hobby shops, and it's used by car modelers to simulate chrome trim on automobiles. They're probably using chrome pens now, but at any rate, I decided to use this foil to do a signal shed. So in order to do signal bungalows, you got to have bungalows. And so I bought some bungalows from 3D Central, obviously a 3D printing place, given the name 3D Central. And these were actually really exquisite. I got this small one here. You can see how crisp the detail is. Just look at the hinge and handle details on this side where the doors are. Just really nice, and no assembly required, so that's really improvement. I also got this really big one, again, same detailing as the other one, just larger. Here's the bottom. You can see how well reinforced it is. It's rock solid. Not as long a legs as the other ones we're going to look at. It also had this little imperfection on the side that I felt I could feel with my fingernail, but I can tell you, after having painted them just once with a aerosol can, as you'll see in silver, I can't feel that imperfection. So it really turned out to not be an issue at all. Highly recommend this product, that's for sure. But since I really wanted to have 4 variations, I needed 4, so I actually got 4 of this Jackson Standard Models relay shed. That is a standard injection molded kit, and goes together like a standard injection molded kit, and it assembles quickly, and you'll see that in a moment. These had nice detail. They have some photo etched lifting hooks for them as well. I haven't actually applied those yet, but nice little kits. And they worked out quite well, and you'll see. I'm going to show you a accelerated video putting them together, just cleaning up parts, gluing them. They had beveled corners, so it was easy to do. I then wanted to spray them, prime them, and I was a little nervous out here in my yard in Texas. The day before, I had discovered a cottonmouth underneath one of these trash cans, so I was a little anxious. I failed to kill it when I had the chance, and it ended up terrorizing the neighborhood for a little while. The thing was everywhere. But I wanted to prime these silver in case there was any area not covered by the foil. It would still be silver, and so it wouldn't create any problems for me. And I like to prime anything that's metal, silver anyway. Silver's a great primer color. So got out the rattle can and got that done so I could move on with the project. Now here I'm going to apply the bare metal foil product, and this is a self-adhesive product. You don't have to apply glue. So I cut the piece a little bit larger than the side I wanted to cover, and then all you have to do is peel off the backing. Now I've edited out my struggles to get the backing off this particular piece. It took me quite a while, but eventually once you get it started, it comes off fairly easily. The foil is really nice and thin, and so it worked fine. Now when I place this down, it's actually placed right where I want it. It looks like it's maybe a little shy of the eaves, but it was actually placed just perfectly. And I recommend kind of starting by pushing this down with your finger, making sure no major air bubbles are trapped, starting in the center and kind of pushing out. Then you can burnish this down, and that's what you do with any of these foil projects. You burnish it down. In this case, I'm using a Tamiya Q-tip or cotton swab. I don't know what they call them. I guess Q-tip is probably a branded term for somebody else, but let me get this a little closer to the camera so you can see. I'm really pushing down pretty hard on this. You know, I'm trying to pick up the panel line details that are on this side of the shed. There's not a lot of detail on this side of the shed except for that line of rivets down at the bottom that you can see, and it's really obviously the burnishing is really bringing that out very well. So that kind of detail is showing. Can't really see the panel lines as much as I would like, but you know, it's hard to know when to stop burnishing, to tell you the truth. You can kind of see the panel line starting to come out. And then this overlap I started putting down. I then thought, oh, maybe I'll cut this off, but I need to pull it off. And I couldn't really pull it off, so I decided to just go ahead and burnish it down. It's not perfect, but it's okay. You can definitely see it, and I probably would cut it off. If I were you and I was using the bare metal foil product, I would cut the excess off instead of burnishing it down like I did. Not terrible, but you know, and here I'm going to burnish this excess onto just a painted side, and I'm really going to work pretty diligently to try and get it around the little hinge details there, and just make sure that it's as flat as possible, so when I go over it with another layer of foil, it won't really be visible, or it'll be visible as little as possible. So there's also some long spindly legs on these Jackson Standard models, and so I'm making sure that the adhesive, the foil rather, is adhered to those legs. And then I'm going to take my hobby knife, and you need to use a very sharp hobby knife with any of these foils. You don't want things to tear. So here I am just cutting, and I'm not cutting right up by the legs because I want to leave a little excess. I'm going to wrap around the legs. And then even though my hands are shaky, I was able to cleanly cut off this excess. Then I'm just going to take the Q-tip or the Tamiya cotton swab, whatever it's called, and wrap that around that leg, and came out pretty well, I think. Went around pretty easily. So what's you know, overall I like applying this bare metal foil, not having to apply adhesive, having a self-adhesive product, having a very thin foil, I think makes for a very good result. Now admittedly, they're chrome, maybe they're a little too shiny for the prototype. I don't know. Here I am making sure it's down on the eaves, and try and get it up here so you can see it a little bit more closely. And then maybe here I'll compare it to one that's just been painted, and you can see the level of detail on the painted one. You can see how those panels, the side panels, stand out a lot better on the painted one. So a reasonable decision could be made to just paint them and leave them alone. But this is a lot shinier. Here I'm just trying to make sure it's really down as hard as possible. So, but I do like this bare metal foil product. It works, gives a really nice result. So here I'm going to do aluminum foil, and this again, it's a cheapo dollar store brand, and I'm using the Craft adhesive. I'm going to put a dab of that on a card that's a little off camera, sorry. And then I'm going to use a micro brush to spread this on the side of the shed. And, you know, in hindsight, I think I would have used a sable brush or a regular brush and gotten some water and maybe cut this stuff down a little bit so it went down more evenly. Because I think that, you know, there were a few little blobs in there, and I thought, you know, I'm pushing down so hard, I'm going to be able to obliterate any little blobs that there might be in the adhesive. Well, I couldn't do that. So, and here I am just, again, I've cut the piece oversized, and you can see here I've put it in the wrong spot, tried to move it, couldn't move it, but I could peel it back up and then reapply it. Good to know that you can do that. And here I'm showing you, I'm using the matte side for this particular example, not the glossy side, not the shiny side, the clear side. And so here I am again embossing with the Q-tip, just like I did with the bare metal foil product. You know, it just, there were some bumps and things underneath the surface, and I wasn't very happy with that. Cutting off the excess here, you know, spray painting, priming it silver, paying dividends. Any little bit of that Eve showing is going to be silver. It's not going to look like it hasn't been treated or anything. I tried burnishing with a micro brush then because I thought, oh, maybe I get these bumps out. Well, no, there wasn't enough padding on the micro brush. Then I tried my fingernail through a microfiber cloth, and honestly, that worked pretty well. I did like that. I think it polished things up a little bit. I was able to get a lot of pressure on there, and so it came out pretty well. Here I am just cutting off the excess on the side. There's not much there to cut off. It lined up pretty closely, but again, you can see a very thin strip was cut off. So I didn't want to wrap these around like I did with the bare metal foil because I think the aluminum foil is a little bit thicker, so it might have shown up. Just burnishing those edges down just to make sure, again, once you get into this burnishing, you never know when to stop. You're thinking, oh, maybe if I just do a little bit more, it'll look even better. So you end up doing a lot of burnishing. But that probably doesn't have a material impact on the final result. But at any rate, there you go. You can see there's a few imperfections on there. Okay, but still imperfect. And now here I'm doing the glossy side, and unlike the last video, this one isn't sped up. I'm just going to do the roof here. And again, I've cut the piece of foil, which is not wanting to come up off the mat, a little larger than the size of the roof. And I'm doing the clear or the glossy side and not the matte side. So again, I'm going to use this craft adhesive and paint it on with a micro brush. Now, the difference here, as you'll see, is after I've applied the adhesive, I wipe a little bit off with my finger to make it a little bit smoother, and I think that really had a good effect. So you might want to try that if you try using this water-based adhesive and applying foil. You probably don't want to have it unevenly distributed, and so pulling some off from the high spots might just give you that result. So there, I'm wiping off a little of the excess. Now I'm just gonna center this foil on top of there and then try not to trap air bubbles while I push it down, and then I'm going to burnish just like with the other foil examples. Just going to do some burnishing to get this onto the surface. And I burnished with the microfiber cloth and fingernail. I was so in love with that method. And this is really quite shiny, almost as shiny as the bare metal foil chrome product, actually. So, in terms of appearance, it looks pretty good. Now I'm going to cut off the overlap, the overhanging parts. Again, sharp knife, critical here, critical. When I'm doing the ends of the roof, you'll notice how I'll rock it from one side to the other. You want to make sure that you're cutting against the mat and not pulling the material off the roof with the knife where it applies pressure. So, and it cuts pretty easily as long as you've got a sharp knife. So this was a relatively easy process to get this cut off. So, and then I'm just burnishing down the edges a little bit, making sure they're adhered. There's nothing loose on the edges before the glue dries. Takes a while for it to dry, so it's not a rush. I believe I take a Q-tip here, you'll see in a minute, and I kind of work on the crest of the roof, the hip of the roof. There were these little tabs, and I worried about potentially cutting them off, and then I feared that I would tear the foil. So I just kind of forced them up under the eaves, and that seemed to work just fine. They didn't end up being visible on the finished sheds. So don't be afraid to do that. I'm just using the tip. These, to me, Q-tips are very sharp, in addition to being very hard and not shedding. Sorry about that. Got a little audio coming across here from playing the video. And so just burnishing these down around the edges just to make sure that they stay burnished down. And working on that hip area, as I said, just to make sure this is properly adhered. There's nothing standing proud. So there, pretty happy with that result, honestly. And here it is compared to the matte side and also the bare metal foil. And here's a view of all four roofs with paint, matte foil, glossy foil, and bare metal foil side by side. And here's kind of a 3/4 view. Now, all the foils do seem to obscure a little detail, so you might want to try painting. Well, there you have it. I do like the bare metal foil product, and the results of the bare metal foil shed. I like that, the looks of that, but it is very shiny and chrome-like, not necessarily as bright and aluminum looking. And any foil, at least the way I applied it, any foil seems to obscure details. So, you know, you have to balance that. I don't think the painted variety looked that bad, frankly, and would be a lot faster. So, it's up to you to decide. That's it for today. Thanks so much again for tuning in. Bob Johnson with PK&W Model Works signing off. Keep on modeling.